Okay, hey guys, this time I got this Ionic 4 weather app. It's going to be only the code review to show you how this one is structured, and we will follow later with a tutorial. So I already have something working here, that is this Ionic Firebase. I haven't finished that yet, but I'm going to follow that in order to create a tutorial. So let's check how this works. We have this menu where we can click here on conditions, and let's say we have Mexico, let's say Cancun, submit, and we get this. Okay, we can even close this, reopen that, HTTP localhost 8100. It loads application, we go to conditions, and you can see that here we still have Cancun. Okay, so this is stored, and even if we close the browser, this is going to stay the same unless we change. It's going to store the last city we added here. So let's see what you need to do to install Ionic. As I said, we're going to follow a tutorial later, create an application and all that, so this is just a code review. To install Ionic CLI, you need to run npm install-g Ionic, and to start the app or to create an app, you need to run Ionic start, the name of your application, and the type of the application you want, either blank, tabs, or side menu. Side menu is going to be only one word, okay? Just like side menu without the space between these two words, just like that. So let's go to home and let's check what we have here. So on home, where am I? Okay. Well, let's first take a look at app module. You can see that this is using Angular. Okay. So if you are aware of how Angular works, it's going to be almost the same, except for some things that Ionic needs, but won't be that difficult to get started. So all this Ionic and splash screen and status bar is coming from Ionic. Every time you create your template, it's going to give you this, except for this Ionic storage module that you need to install. I will show you how to install that later. So I'm using reactive forms because, let's check conditions. If I don't have anything here, I cannot click. Okay, well, I can click, but I cannot submit anything unless I type something. Okay, I start. I'm not checking for a specific word or regular expression, nothing. I'm just using that and reactive forms validators just to check if this thing is empty or not. Okay, so there's not nothing fancy there. So as usual, you add your module to the imports. Inside the providers, you have all this that is by default. When you install your template, it's going to come by default, so you don't need to do anything here. And let's go to app component. App component is going to have this public app pages, that is the pages we start with. In the case you are using the side menu template, it's going to start with a home and a list. Okay, and every time you add a page, is going to be added inside this array. Nothing else here you need to worry about, okay, at least for this project. And let's go to app component HTML. So with Ionic, you start with this Ionic or Ion app surrounding everything else. Notice here that we have the router outlet, okay, the main router outlet. You can have others. So we have this Ion menu. These are custom tags for specific for Ionic. We have this Ionic header or Ion header with the Ion toolbar. Okay, that is this Ion toolbar. And from there, as I said, we have the Ion menu that is going to use ng4 in order to get the pages, and the pages are coming from this array of pages, okay, and using that is going to get the URL and the title. So you can see we have this title, URL, and icon, and it's going to create this menu. So this is specific for this side menu template, okay, in case you want to add it or you want to use it. So let's go back to home because I want to, okay. So not much you need to worry about here. This is all Ionic, and most of the times you will only get, you won't be messing with this toolbar and with the menu. Most of the times you will leave it the way it is. So let's go to home, the actual home. So this is the Ionic or the Ion header. So we have this title. What is Ion buttons? I'm not sure what is this. So I'm still kind of new with all the components, not the components, the elements that use that Ionic use. So I'm not sure what this Ion. Okay, it's the menu button. I'm stupid. It's this button, and this is the Ion title. Okay. So we can change this to maybe, I don't know, welcome. Nope. Let's save that. All the content is going to be inside this Ion content, okay? All your content needs to be wrapped inside this Ion content. You can add a class into that to style it. And okay, this is the content. This is just the H1 with Ionic 4 weather app. That you can see here. You can see that it changed to welcome. Okay, I'm using custom styling because with Ionic 4, let me show you. No, this is my global. So let's go to theme and variable SCSS. At first, I'm using this image in order to, this is the background image. I'm using this Lance Anderson JPG inside assets, but you need to run. It's a little difficult because you will need to do some research in order to get the specific variables you need to change. So this is the background color of the full application, and this is the background color of the toolbar. Okay, the toolbar and the whole application. So if I change, let's say, the toolbar, because the whole application is No, it should be. I'm not sure if going to change. Oh, let's see. Let's try. So let's see what happens. Let's go to, okay, you can see that since the whole application changed, the background and the menu that doesn't have any background is going to take that and it's going to take that color and it's going to show that. So in order to have the same color, you need to specify the Ion background color for everything to be the color you want. Okay, and it's going to change, and we have this creamy kind of color. It's the same with the toolbar. If I change this one to 2, let's wait, and you can see changes. So let's save that, and this is how you get the background working with an image. Okay, you need to specify this variable background and the URL of your image. You can even copy that. Of course, you will get the file, so you can use this to create some other applications. We have this div class intro that, as I said, is being styled by hand. So it's this div with the rounded corners, and inside we have this button that is just a link. Since it's hard to actually style the buttons, and I'd rather use my own styling, my own elements, instead of using the Ion elements that come with Ionic. So, except for some cases that, for example, the images use lazy loading, so you need to use those images, those image tags that are specific for Ionic, instead of the normal image tags. But for some other elements, if you want to style them differently, you might need to use your regular HTML elements. So as I said, this is a link that is going to take us to the list. That the list is our other component, the conditions. Okay, you can see here that we have this list in the URL, and let's take a look at what the list item or the list component does. So let's go to list page.ts, and okay, let me show you something. List module ts. You remember from I think is, let me go to YouTube. Let me go to my channel. Let me go to videos. So in this one, the Up and Running with Angular 7, I show you how to create this little application with Firebase. Okay, I'm going to add some other things to this application, I think today or tomorrow, if I have time. So, but the thing is that in this application we're using lazy loading for the components. Okay, and how you know you are using lazy loading, because you still don't get that. If you use load children, you're using lazy loading. Okay, so when you use lazy loading, you need to add the packages you are using on your top module, you need to add them inside your route that is being lazy loaded. Okay, so that's why we have reactive forms module here on the list.module.ts. That is the same as the module we need to create, or we create in this application. Okay. Also, I think I showed you that with another Angular application. I can't remember which one, but I'm using lazy loading in all my applications now with Angular. So if you add something, let's go to app module. If you add something here, because you can see that we have reactive forms module, and this is not going to work with lazy loading, but we need to start. We need to add this in case we want to add something in the top module. Okay, in the top HTML, and to pass that into the application, the app module, we need to have this one to specify it into the declarations, and then add that one, the same reactive forms and maybe forms module inside, or module ts inside the component directory we just created, or Ionic creates. So just keep that in mind, that for lazy loading you need to add the reactive forms and also import that. Okay, in this case it's reactive forms. What reactive forms give us? It gives us the validators. So I'm not using all the validators, just the required. And if the validators, if this is empty, the input is empty, I cannot send anything. But if it has something, I think this is Cancun. Let's go back to Mexico. Nope, it's not enter, it's submit. Okay, you can see that it changed to Mexico City, and we have the Celsius degrees. So how this thing is working, because I can close this, or close this today, open this tomorrow, it's going to have the same information. It's not going to be deleted. So let's go to module. We import the forms modules and we import the service. Remember that our service is only calling the Apixu API to get the forecast. So we need to import this storage. Let's go to app module. But we need to import this storage module. Okay. So let's go to Ionic storage. So this allows us to have, okay, this is what you need to run. npm install says --save Ionic storage. In case you want to use so SQLite, Android uses SQLite. So in case you want to do something for Android and you want to use storage, you need to run Ionic Cordova plugin, add Cordova SQLite storage to use that as a storage, or else, if not, you just run npm install --save Ionic storage, and you need to declare Ionic storage module inside your app module ts, and to pass that, this one, Ionic storage module for root, to specify that. Okay, and let me go to list. So you can see I'm not using Ionic storage here. I don't need to add that here. I just need to go to my page ts and call it right here, just importing storage from Ionic storage. adding that into my constructor. This is pure Angular, so you don't need to worry about it. And our service. So this is the same as any application built with Angular except for Ionic storage. So this is where the real magic happens. The first component doesn't have anything except just one link that redirects us to these weather conditions. So we use this search function inside our form. This is just another Ionic component with the header, the menu, the title, and remember that everything is going to be inside our content or Ion content. Okay, you can add a class in order to style it. That's what I'm using here, Ion content class main, to specify the background image. So this is a div class details, just the regular H2 paragraph to show something. And the form is using also the form group, regular Angular. And the ng submit is just, this is just, so you can see this is just a regular Angular form, Angular 7. So you run ng, when we submit the form, we use this search function and we get the values for this Ion input. It can be only, a regular HTML input. So we get the city and we pass that to the search. And that's it. Let's go to list model TS, list page TS, and inside the search we're going to get this from data that has the city. So I'm consoling that from data. Let's hit F12. So this is the object from data. No, this is not it, sorry. So let's say, I don't know, let's go back to Cancun. Submit. Okay, so you can see we get the city Cancun and then the location. So here we run, this is something like local storage, the HTML API. So we're going to use this Ionic storage, that is the storage we added. We're going to set a variable. The name of the variable is going to be city, and this is the value that we're going to add. That is the from data city. That is the value. Let me go to. That is the value of our form control. Why is okay? Okay, so why we're going to set this? Because we want this to be persistent every time. So that's why this doesn't gets deleted when we close the application. So this is stored, okay, just like local storage, as I said, the name and the value you want to store. And after that being stored, we're going to pass this weather service, that is our service, the function that calls the API, get weather from API. We pass the city, okay, that is coming from the form data. We subscribe to the changes since it's a observable. We get this weather, okay. I'm just consoling the weather that you can see just now is this object with current and location that has the cloud conditions and all that. Let's close this one and let's go to location, the country, local time, latitude, okay, region. So and now we're going to check every time we come back to conditions a function is going to run. Which function? You can see that we have the ng on init function. Okay, so we're going to run this that get weather. So get weather is going to run this Ionic storage get. Do we have a city? If we previously searched for a city, we already have a city store, so we can get that. So this time, with this function we use then, we receive a city. If the city is null, meaning that it just starts with an empty input, like when we come back to home and then come back again to conditions, it starts with null value because there's nothing on the input. We're going to run this weather service and get weather from API the first time. Okay, so this is running the first time the app is being started. We're going to run Paris, or we're going to run the service using the city Paris, subscribe to that and show that. Okay, so with the first run, it's going to show Paris here instead of whatever we have. Okay, Paris is just the default for when the application first runs. Else, if we already have something, once we type something, Mexico again, once we have something, now this function this if will never run, because null city is not going to be null anymore. Why? Because every time we search something, we're going to store that city inside our Ionic storage. Okay, so this is not going to run. Else, we're going to run this service, get weather from API, use the city. That's why we're getting the city. Use the city we already have, subscribe to that, and just show that. So that's why it's starting. Now this is why this is starting with our last search. And we just need to catch the errors if there's an error, and that's it. Okay, so this is just a simple application, nothing too fancy, but as I said, we're going to build something from scratch using Ionic later with Firebase. So if you are used to Angular, you won't have any problem dealing with Ionic, at least for the basic things. Okay, later we're going to install some Cordova plugins and build an APK for Android. I already have a Android Studio installed, so later once I get more advanced, and I get used to use the plugins and all that, we're going to start with the plugins. But later, I don't know when, I still don't know, because I might work this week. If not, I'm going to finish the Ion 4 Firebase, it's also with Angular, and I'm going to create a tutorial. Okay, and it's going to be something like this, up and running. Okay, so we can build something from scratch, and you can see me typing and all that shit. So I'm guessing all these videos are going to be like 1 or 2 hours, or maybe 3 hours at most. but you will see how we build something from scratch. But yeah, so I think this is it. Okay, you can use drivers. No, that's why if you install SQLite, you can use also IndexedDB. What is IndexedDB? No, it's on F12. Application. So IndexedDB is a database that is inside our browser. Okay, it's an API. So we can store this, and you can use this if you are offline. Okay. So yeah, later we will build some more complicated things once I get, more in depth with Ionic. But yeah, I just wanted to share you this simple app, simple weather app with Ionic 4, so you can see that it's not a big fuss since it's using Angular. And yeah, so I'm going to leave this here, and I think that's all. I think I didn't forget anything. Just the variables. You need to be aware of the variables. It requires a little research. You can also use the global. Okay, so you can see I have some custom styling. So yeah, so I'm going to leave this one here and see you on the next one.